Hey YouTube, today's January 6th, 2021. We're looking at some art world news with a warm cup of coffee and a whole lot of craziness. Today's article is from the New York Times. The title reads, San Francisco's top art school says future hinges on a Diego Rivera mural. The University of California is aiding the San Francisco Art Institute, but SFAI officials say selling a $50 million Rivera could save the school. Former students are outraged. This is a pretty crazy article and really highlights, in my opinion, a lot of mismanagement and misunderstanding for what the point of a learning institution is and can be. We'll get into that in a minute. I'm gonna read through some of the article here. Not too long, but still we need some context. Oh, there we go. The San Fransisco Art Institute was close to losing its campus and art collection to a public sale last fall when the University of California Board of Regents stepped in to buy its $19.7 million of debt from a private bank in an attempt to save the 150-year-old institution from collapse. The agreement provides a lifeline, but the future of the beloved artwork, a mural worth $50 million by Diego Rivera that officials say could help balance the budget, is still up in the air, and faculty and former students are outraged. In 1931, the work titled The Making of a Fresco, Showing the Building of a City, is a fresco within a fresco. The tableau portrays the creation of both a city and a mural, with architects, engineers, artisans, sculptors, and painters hard at work. Rivera himself is seen from the back, holding a palette and brush, with his assistants. It is one of 3 frescoes in San Francisco by the Mexican muralist, who was an enormous influence on other artists in the city. Years of costly expansion and declining enrollment at the Institute have put it in peril, a situation that has worsened during the pandemic. The school has stressed that no final decision has been made to sell the mural, but behind the scenes, administrators and the Institute's leaders are strongly pushing to do so, as it would pay off debts and allow them to make ends meet for an annual operating budget that typically runs around $19 million. The board chairwoman, Pam Rourke-Levy, disputed that, saying our first choice would be to endow the mural in place, attracting patrons, or a partner institution that would create a substantial fund that would enable us to preserve, protect, and present the mural to the public. There's some other stuff you could read in the middle of the article as well, but I'll move forward a bit. I'll also link the article in the description if you want to take a look at it on your own. I'm going to move forward and read a little bit towards the end. Faculty and staff members have reportedly raised objections. The latest rebuttal came in a December 30th letter sent to the school community from a union representing its adjunct teachers, nearly 70 of whom were laid off during the pandemic, but who previously made up the majority of the faculty. The Diego Rivera mural is not a commodity whose identity and worth resides exclusively in its market valuation, reads the letter, saying that while its sale would resolve immediate financial shortfalls, this would provide only a limited lifeline and does not address patterns of misbehavior and mismanagement by SFAI's board and executive officers. In a statement, the Institute described the allegation of poor leadership as, quote, a gross mischaracterization, end quote, saying that nearly all of its board members joined the school after the debt was incurred. The Rivera mural is intertwined with the legacy of SFAI, which claims to be the oldest art school west of the Mississippi River and counts artists like Annie Leibovitz, Catherine Opie, and Kehinde Wiley among its former students. Selling the mural after it has become such a significant part of the Institute's identity over the last 90 years risks alienating the students, alumni, and faculty who appreciate it. It's insulting and heartbreaking, said Kate Laster, an Institute alumna who produced student exhibitions in a gallery housing the mural before graduating in 2019. Selling the mural is an impractical option when considering the school's duty to protect its own historical legacy. If you're interested in taking a look at this article, as I mentioned before, I'll have a link to the article in the description below. Before I wrap this up, I have some really big questions about art schools and institutions. One is, how much risk was actually considered when initial decision makers at SFAI decided to move forward with their expansion? Yes, having more students is more profitable because, laughably enough, schools are functioning as far more than schools at this point, while severely underpaying faculty, both adjunct and tenured, in a very, very expensive city. But maybe they should have just tried being a good school with a solid financial safety net and, maybe, if possible, try to cut costs for students. Tuition fees for SFAI are listed at almost $50,000 a year. With a debt load that large, are students going to make enough to just survive when they get out of school? Even if there's enough funding to help students with some or most of the cost of tuition, and that's just tuition alone, that's not all of the materials and tools and space that they need to work and so on and so forth, living costs. Even with most of the cost of tuition covered, will those students be able to thrive afterwards, especially with the uncertainties associated with being an artist? What's so wrong about cutting cost for students and being financially conservative, or at least responsible? The second question that I have is, why does the UC system, which is a governing body for a large number of public four-year universities spread throughout California, feel so emboldened to function as an entity with the authority to play monopoly, especially when a portion of its funding comes from California tax dollars and tuition paid by students? Shouldn't people pitching money into this system have a say? I have an article linked to some discussions that occurred in May of last year about their financial problems. I'll have a link to this as well. According to UC Merced Interim Chancellor Nathan Brostrom, the financial loss to the UC system due to the current crisis totaled $600 million in March, with the projected impact of $2.5 billion by June 30th. That's only from this past summer. We're months past June. So you can imagine how much they've actually lost in financially. This is pretty crazy, but we'll see what happens in the future. If you like this kind of content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about this. Until then, thanks for listening.